think by the doctor. Yes, he's got it. He carries pounds. Way rock the baby to play until morning. Ewing. Oh, wow. Oh, he's going to try to get one more shot off the last push. The buzzer. How about that? Steps over Teron Lowe. He's got about three. He'll put up a three.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Boom Broadcasting presents Three from Deep. I'm your host, Jason Colenso. Welcome to the show. Guys, thank you very much for joining me here on this Saturday. Of course, I am in a much better mood now that my New York Knicks finally have stretched this to a Game 6, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But first things first, if this is your first time here, welcome. Three from Deep, your all-NBA podcast here on the Boom Broadcasting Network. Welcome. Jump on here, like and subscribe. You'll love the Boom Broadcasting Network. We do so much more than just the NBA. We got the NFL. We got Major League Baseball with my man Chris DeLuca dropping knowledge. We got my man Podcast Smitty who talks about just about every other sport that's out there. Carson, Aaron, man, we got so many guys on this network. We have tons of wrestling with my man Michael Davis and Mouthing Off with Mike, dropping a lot of wrestling knowledge. My man Sean Lucas does wrestling, and he does his TV show It Stinks podcast. Good stuff here on the Boom Broadcasting Network. So please like and subscribe and jump on here. So without further ado, we're going to jump in the show because, man, the playoffs, they have been interesting. They're getting a little more interesting, and I need a little help with this for the weekend. So I brought in a special guest. I'm also wearing one of his T-shirts here. You got to check him out on Drew Code Sports Network here. I got to bring in my man, Mr. Cody Johnson. Cody, where are you? Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, my friend? Dude, that merch looks amazing. Everyone needs to go get one. Dude, Jason, you're wearing it so spectacularly, dude. Thanks for supporting.
You are very welcome, man, and I appreciate you. My man Cody has been integral in helping me here with this podcast thing, because I'm still kind of green at it, so he has been a great help for me with my audio, technical, all kinds of stuff, and just a great friend and a great supporter, man. I do appreciate everything you have done for me here. So, but I thank you very much. Friend. Oh, yes, I appreciate you jumping on here, man, and dude, this NBA playoff season,
yeah,
has been insane. It has been dramatic. We have one series that has already ended with the Western Conference Finals coming to an end, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But, of course, I have to jump into my New York Knicks staying alive. Game 5, played Knicks basketball with a victory, 111-94, so held the Pacers to 94 points. Because, again, this is how you beat the Pacers. You can't get into a shootout with them and try to score 150 points. That's difficult. But, if you slow the game down, the Pacers' pace of play. Knicks only 15 turnovers in this game, but the Pacers had 20. So, big difference. The defensive presence and the sense of urgency was there, which I love. My man Jalen Brunson, Captain Clutch, 32 points. Karl Anthony Towns showing up with 24 and 13 rebounds. So great games from the leaders. And I got, again, give props to Mitchell Robinson, man. 6 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal. That guy is everywhere. He has been the spark plug for that New York Knicks team, been in the starting lineup ever since they slid him in and took out Hart. So, man, this series going to a Game 6. We got Game 6 tonight. It is going back to Indy. So, Cody, I know I picked my Knicks in 6, and that's not going to work now, but I'm pretty sure you had I think you had the Knicks in 7, if I do recall.
I did.
That you called it. So I appreciate that. One thing I do want to bring up is in 1994, the original choke series where Indiana was up 3-2. the New York Knicks came back and won that series.
Mm.
So we got choke part 2. Indiana's up 3-2. Does history repeat itself? Do we get this game to a game 7, Cody?
Man, listen, tonight's game is going to be probably one for the ages. And listen, if the Knicks can come out playing like they did in, I believe it was game 3, and like they did in game 6, where they relied on the defense, they respected the Pacers. And this is what I think the Knicks have a problem with. And this was very apparent even in game 5, which is when they have a lead, they play sloppy. And that was when errant turnovers. That was when you saw like Cat not hustling for a loose ball because he thought he was fouled. He didn't continue to play. Fortunately, it was the Pacers not being able to shoot themselves out of a slump that and some really good defense that the Knicks were finally able to play that really helped them get over the hump.
Right.
What's difficult about this game going back to Indiana tonight is you're going to be playing in a very hostile crowd. And, you know, the Knicks, fortunately, they stole a game on the road in Indy already, so they can win on the road.
Right.
But at least, and I'll speak from what I've seen the last 3 seasons, when there is a closeout game on the horizon at the series leads home court, 9 out of 10 times the game before, they kind of just let that one go. I wouldn't even say take a rest day. They just, they don't put very much effort into it just so they can get back to their home court and seal the series on their home court and celebrate with fans.
Right.
I have a feeling that Indianapolis tonight is going to come out firing on all cylinders, but the Knicks have such big hearts that I think they're going to duke it out to where I feel like it's going to come down to the wire. I'm still saying Knicks in 7 just because I've declared that, and Knicks just need to win this game, go back to New York. And if New York has a game 7, that game is going to be electric in every possible way. So tonight, I think I'm going to say that the Knicks hold out. It's going to be a rough game. Like, it's going to probably feel like a game 7 at game 6, because I feel like the Knicks are going to be playing desperate. Their season is on the line. Indiana's going to want to put the Knicks away just because now they'll have a chance to go to the NBA Finals. And that'll be, I think, their first NBA Final since the year 2000 when they had Jalen Rose, and I think they had at the time Reggie Miller and some of the other players as well. So this is big for Indiana, but I think the Knicks are going to play with a sense of urgency because their season's on the line, and I don't think they're going to roll over easy. So as much as I want to pick Indy, because at least from seeing Indy, they look like they've been a strong team and very tough to beat, I'm going to give a little faith to the Knicks that they're going to pull it out and take it back to New York for game 7.
And I hope so, because of course, as a New York Knicks fan, I would love to see a game 7 in New York.
Yeah.
But there are some keys to this game. See, the New York Knicks have to play their game. Mm-hmm. They have to kill the turn. You talked about the turnovers. Turnovers kill the New York Knicks, and those turnovers lead to fast break points because Indiana plays such a fast pace. When they get that turnover, they're already down the court. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, you're down 10. One of the biggest things that concerns me about the New York Knicks is their 3-point shooting. In that win the other night, they shot to almost only 27%. They were 8 for 29 from 3. Indiana has been known to shoot 30. They were at 33% in that game, but they were doing it from behind. But they shoot a better percentage at home. They're almost 40%. I think they're a little over 40% at home shooting the 3. So that also concerns me. So limiting the turnovers, protecting the perimeter. Perimeter defense is going to be key for the New York Knicks. And being out there, don't let them get easy 3 points up and down the court, because they've got some 3-point shooters on that team. Halliburton, where did he go? 1 minute they're thinking he's a superstar and they're comparing him to Jalen Brunson, and then the next minute he scores 5 points in essentially an elimination game. You can eliminate the New York Knicks, and then you go out and drop 5 points. That's horrible. That is not superstar quality. Jalen Brunson, 32 points. That's superstar quality. So it's going to be interesting to see how Halliburton bounces back and what the Knicks can do to eliminate him from the game. Because I think if they can get him out of the game, get that team off of their mojo and their speed and slow the game down, I think the Knicks have a shot. I will say with the Indiana Pacers, Benedict Mathurin, I am so impressed with that guy coming off the bench, man. He had another 20-plus point game, 23-9 off the bench. So outscored a bunch of starters. And he timely shots. I'm concerned about him because that's the New York Knicks did not have a lot of bench points on that in that win. They are solely a starting 5 team. They do not have the depth that Indiana has, and that's my other concern is, don't get into foul trouble because Indiana's depth is going to outscore the New York Knicks depth. So that's a couple of concerns I have. I hope this does, and I can see the New York Knicks winning this. But my other question is if this is going to be a shootout and Indiana, we're in the fourth quarter, Indiana either is tied or it's close, who do you think becomes the guy? Because Indiana, even though Halliburton's, kind of the de facto star on that team, I don't think he's really the leader of the team. So we know Jalen Brunson is the leader of the New York Knicks. He's the head, and they form like Voltron. Jalen Brunson's the head. Indiana. So if they're down or if they're close, who is their leader X factor that would essentially propel that team?
I'm confused why people don't think that Tyrese Halliburton is that guy. I mean, he demonstrated this against Milwaukee, that he's the guy to help lead the charge to get them over and have late game buckets to really put them on top. He also did it against who was the series that was before? There was Milwaukee that they eliminated. And then Cleveland. And then Cavaliers. Tyrese Halliburton, you can make the argument that him by himself snatched the heart of Cleveland because he had 2 essentially game winners in back-to-back games. Right. And a lot of the comeback win was based on him. Now, just because he's not scoring 40 points all by himself, but he's getting rebounds, he's distributing. To me, that's just as important, if not more important, because he's not only contributing offensively in terms of scoring, but he's creating other opportunities. Look at game 1 with the Knicks, where you had Tyrese Halliburton kind of help leading the charge to get that comeback, but also getting the ball to Naismith when he was hitting those threes. And now, granted, Naismith had a career game. Will he ever go 6 for 6 from 3 again? Probably not, but it does help that you got a guy like Tyrese Halliburton that's able to create off the dribble, find open looks, and also when it comes down to it, when he needs to get a bucket, he gets a bucket. I'm just not sure why Tyrese Halliburton isn't getting respect. Maybe it's because he doesn't act like an alpha, but if anything, I've actually fallen more. I've enjoyed seeing Tyrese Halliburton in these playoffs more because as these game winners, as these close games, as we see what he's made out of, we see more of the competitor that Tyrese Halliburton is. And in my opinion, he is one of those guys that you would want on your team because he's going to put it on you and he's going to attack you. I will say game 5, he disappeared. He only shot the ball 7 times. He scored 8 points. But again, though, it kind of leads into my point that I made earlier at the top of the segment, which was, there are some teams, and I think Indiana, in my opinion, just kind of took a night off. We'll just take a look at the other scorers. Pascal Siakam only attempted 13 shots, scored 15 points. Not trying to say that he wasn't productive, but let's be honest, Pascal Siakam has been a 20-point scorer all series, and all of a sudden he's held to 15. I do think that's good Knicks defense, but we can also agree that maybe the Pacers were okay to go back to Indiana to play game 6 and hopefully close it out there on their home court. And then Naismith, he was out with an injury after the first quarter. He only had 3 points. You have Miles Turner, who only attempted 3 shots in general. And then you got the guy that came off the bench, like you mentioned. He was the only other productive guy on the team. In fact, the highest scorer. And so the Knicks, obviously with desperation, points in the paint, they made sure their mid-range shots were hitting on point. They didn't fall in love with the 3 ball because they only shot it 29 times. So that was helpful.
Right.
But I think what Tyrese Halliburton brings is you have to just respect that he's not going to just score. He's gonna distribute and he's gonna get rebounds. Tyrese Halliburton just hasn't discovered the level of his game yet where he can possibly be like a walking triple-double because he scores, he distributes, and he's a lengthy guard that can go up and get rebounds. So I think the notion of him not being the leader of the team is really odd because I've seen nothing but a leader just because he doesn't scream like Russell Westbrook or, we think of Jalen Brunson as the alpha on the Knicks, which is absolutely right.
Right.
But Tyrese Halliburton to me is every bit of a leader on his team as Brunson is to the Knicks, in my opinion.
And I think a lot of it is because it's consistency. Tyrese Halliburton lays eggs. Like he had,
Sure.
in game 5. So like again, you're in the Garden. You've already won there.
Mm-hmm.
You can potentially just eliminate the Knicks and rest.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, sense of urgency. That's one thing. You don't give another team hope. When you
Sure.
give another team hope, there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered, animal.
Right.
So, and I think that's really the knock against Halliburton and why guys are like, no, or yeah, he's this tier. He's not really the next tier of superstar players, is because he does have these kind of games. He has those games where you're like, dude, you only shot it how many times, or you weren't even in the game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's not what a superstar does. Even if a superstar has a rough game, they're still trying to score. They're still chucking the ball up. They may not have a great percentage, but they're still trying to shoot 20 plus shots and trying to be involved in the game and not kind of disappear. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why the knock against Halliburton is he tends to lay some eggs in certain games and disappears, which as a leader, you don't want to see. You want to see a little more consistency.
Sure.
And
But
that's
I
one
mean,
of the things. Go ahead.
yeah, but I mean, like we look at Anthony Edwards and literally him.
That's where I was about to go.
Yeah, him disappearing for the last 3 games of his
Yep.
series led to his elimination. And look, to even bring home your point a little bit further about just eliminate the team, the Thunder did it in 5 on Minneapolis's floor because they wanted to get out and rest. Also, they were the stronger team just in general. But that's
Better team.
Yeah, they were just overall better. But I still think, and I think it's because of this modern age of NBA, and I'm going to stand on this point of it where, like, if there's a 3-1 lead, for example, for Indiana, right? They're not desperate to win game 5. The Knicks are, right?
Right.
So you let the Knicks expend all their energy, all their emotion to survive game 5, which they did. Obviously, you don't put out your best effort because clearly you only attempted, we'll use Tyrese Halliburton, you only attempted 7 shots in general.
Right.
You played 32 minutes, you chucked up 7 shots. You'd probably be more productive in a pickup basketball game. But anyways, but I say that like you let them expend their energy. They only get a 1 day off to where they got to go now to Indiana and now redo that whole emotion to survive again.
Yeah, but now you have the blueprint now. So like in the games that the Knicks have won, now you can see the blueprint. All right, so this is what worked. We can kind of hit the same game plan. So
yes,
even though you're running out of gas, now Indiana has it in their head like, oh man, now they're going to have a bigger sense of urgency because if they don't win this game, they have to go back to New York. And now you got the New York Knicks steamrolling and on a roll. Right. And now you're going back to New York for a game 7 and you talk about the hype train. And it's like, teams sometimes fold with that kind of pressure. So, the pressure is on Indiana right now because to me, the Knicks don't have the pressure. It's win or go home. That's it. But if Indiana doesn't win, man, now they had control of this series. Now you don't have control of the series. Now you got to go back to New York.
Sure. So in my opinion, Indiana doesn't have as much pressure as New York. In fact, I actually think Indiana is going to come out with more energy because they're going to play more free because look, just like what you said, the Knicks have to win this game to keep the series alive. They have to survive regardless. There is no such thing as an off night. If you're shooting bad, you got to find a way to contribute. You got to play harder defense. This is it. Like you are not surviving this game if you lose it. And Indiana, I don't think they're going to lose 3 games in a row. I don't know if they're built to lose 3 games in a row. They're very tough. That's why I don't think them only shooting 10 for 30 from 3 is going to be duplicated. And I don't think that the Indiana Pacers are going to go into their home court, lay an egg because they don't have, like they saw a blueprint and now they're scared of it. If that was the case, they should have folded when they lost game 3, when they were up by 20 and lost to the Knicks. Right. So I think there's a lot more pressure on New York. That's why, like in game 5, they had to win. Again, every game for New York from here on out is an elimination game. The Pacers don't feel that until game 7. So the Knicks have to duplicate this same energy, the same emotion for game 5, game 6, And game 7, if we get to that point, that's why, like, Indiana, in my opinion, like, they may have some pressure to close it out, but they don't nearly have as much pressure as the Knicks. And if the Knicks do move on, hypothetically, on the other side of that is the Thunder. So
yeah, but you still get there. And then we're going to talk about the Thunder here next. But you know what? I'm going to hang my hat on the fact that you still think this is going to game 7 and the New York Knicks are going to win tonight. So I'm rolling with that right there, brother. So go Knicks, game 6 tonight.
I got my blue and orange just for you. This is the closest thing I have. I don't have Knicks gear, so
yeah, I got you. I'll have my Knicks gear on tonight, but this is going to be, it's going to be hard. So, and that's going to be the key for the New York Knicks is keeping that building quiet.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can do it. But yeah, let's run into OKC since we started talking about them. Kind of like they are the preemptive favorites right now to win the whole thing. They steamrolled and made the Timberwolves look like puppy dogs. Anthony Edwards really disappointed in his performance this series. Then the next guy he's supposed to be like put on this pedestal, and I talked about this before, we tend to build pedestals for guys before they win anything, and then we try to put them up there and they don't fit. Anthony Edwards shrank in this series, and I think it took a hit. I know he's only 23. He's got a long way to go. I think he can bounce back, and I'm not saying like his career is over or any of that kind of stuff, but this is the Michael Jordan losing to the bad boy Pistons moment kind of deal. Like you just got beat up in a series. You got knocked down. What are you going to do next? But Oklahoma City, that team looks crazy strong. SGA that looks like the MVP. Second in scoring in the playoffs, averaging 29.9 points, 6.9 assists. He has had 30.5 assist games in this playoffs. The only other guys who do that are Michael Jordan and LeBron James. So SGA already putting himself in another category. The Oklahoma City Thunder have had 4 30-point victories, and they just steamrolled through Minnesota. They laid one egg, and then other than that, boom. The youngest team in the league right now, they average about 24 years old, but Williams, Chet Holmgren, SGA, I mean, you have Lou Dort, you got great guys on that squad, but they're young. Yes, they finally made it to the finals. This is the first time since the Russell Westbrook era. They are the sure bet, but are we sure that they can get over that hump and be consistent and be the team that just ran through a lackluster Wolves team, navigating the West? Can and will Oklahoma City, no matter who comes out of the East, will they win the NBA championship?
That's an interesting question, because I probably would have said no had the Timberwolves stretched out the series to 6, maybe even 7 games. Because on a show that you and I did, where we did I think it was our conference finals predictions, I said I believe that the Timberwolves would actually bully up on the Thunder, and I think the Thunder weren't going to know what hit them. And I was actually completely wrong. If anything, the Thunder bullied on the Timberwolves, so much so that the Timberwolves forgot how to play basketball. That's how bad the Thunder beat them up, And also, I will say a huge series of maturity that we saw the Thunder go through was the 7 games against the Nuggets, because if we weren't sure if the Nuggets or if the Thunder were ready, they would have folded in game 7 against a recent champion. Most of that team is still a championship team. A couple of pieces aren't there, but for the most part, you have a large nucleus of the former NBA champions. I think it was back in 23 is when they won, right?
Yep.
And the Thunder beat them in 7. Now, granted, it was a hard 7 games, and they learned a lot about themselves, and they did it. In 7 games, they did it, right? In convincing fashion, because if I'm not mistaken, they blew out the Nuggets in 7 games. In that 7th game, they actually blew them completely out of the water.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll speak for myself when I said I did not suspect that the Timberwolves were going to come in here and get a leash put on them and walked around all over Oklahoma City, which is exactly what they did. I thought Minnesota was going to put up a better fight than that. I thought that Anthony Edwards was actually going to take on the challenge of SGA. I didn't realize that in the final 2 games, he was going to disappear. And according to his press game conference, he was okay with that. That's how badly I saw the Thunder beat up on the Timberwolves. So again, that kind of draws me to my conclusion now. If I saw the Timberwolves put up a better fight, I probably would say, you know what? I think the Pacers have a really good shot. I think the Knicks have a really good shot. Whatever. What I saw the Thunder do is I saw the Thunder play with such energy, physicality, that I'm concerned that depending on who gets in and represents the East, it's either going to be a sweep or gentleman's sweep. I think the Thunder are that difficult. Like if we were talking like Boston, if Jason Tatum is going to get hurt, right, and Porzingis was healthy, and we had what I was assuming would be Boston versus the Thunder, I would say, oh, you know what? I think I'd side with Boston because of the experience and all that other stuff. The Thunder actually have more experience now playoff-wise than the other 2 teams because the Pacers were bouncing the first round. The Knicks were bouncing the first round last year. The Thunder actually got pretty far the last few seasons.
Right.
So with how strong they are, SGA, Chet Holmgren actually really maturing in the last series against the Timberwolves, which was a huge one. Jalen Williams being like what James Harden should have been for the Thunder back in the day.
Right.
I don't know how the Thunder don't win. If they don't win, it would be a bigger collapse than anything we've seen. But with how they've been playing, I mean, it'd be great if neither team that they face gets swept by the Thunder. I think that's how strong the Thunder are.
Right. And I can agree with that. Look, the Thunder got through the gauntlet of the West fairly unscathed. They had a couple of bad games. The Nuggets stretched them to a 7-game series because they have the best player in the world that literally drugged the Nuggets through the playoffs, and Nikola Jokic, and they beat them. They made the Timberwolves look terrible, who I would have thought the Timberwolves, they looked so good early on in these playoffs and through both series, and then just flopped. I'm not crazy about the attitude Anthony Edwards had about the losses. I would have expected a little more emotion from him. Again, only 23, so I'm gonna give him a little bit of a pass. I want to see what he does. I want to see what he does next year, and I think the Wolves need to retool. They need a little help. Julius Randle had some good games, but again, that last game he disappeared. Rudy Gobert. Where did he go, man?
Trading block this offseason. I don't think he goes back.
The Stifle Tower got rolled up like some crepes and thrown into the Thames.
Put some chocolate on that. Yep, he sure did.
Oh man, he looked horrendous. Like the defensive player of the year was non-existent. Chet Holmgren made him look subpar. I mean, I call Chet Holmgren Ichabod Crane because I think he needs to eat a cheeseburger. He is so skinny. But man, Oklahoma City looks dangerous, and this is their championship to lose. This is not whether I think they match up lengthwise and speed-wise better with the Pacers. The Knicks, I think they would have to really rely on their defense and try to eliminate other guys. It kind of like the Jordan rules, like let him get his point, let SGA get his points, but try to take everybody else out of the game. But I think no matter who they match up at, this is their championship to lose because they are so strong. They have a great coach, and playing in the Thunderdome there, Mad Max, aka SGA, playing MVP, lights out. That is going to be a tall task for whoever comes out of the East. But if Oklahoma City does not win, or at least stretch this to like an epic Game 7 and some miraculous stuff happens where they lose like on a shot or something crazy, unless it's one of those kind of things, if they get beat in a 7-game series, not handily, but pretty decently, I think it is going to be considered an epic collapse and a huge failure because they are that kind of team. So we'll see. This is going to be an exciting finals. Whoever makes it there, hopefully it's the Knicks. But
well, I mean, Jason,
we'll
as much as I want the Knicks to go there, I'm actually kind of afraid if they do because
they'll get the doors blown off them a couple of games at least. I see some 40-point games.
I mean,
Oof.
you remember when it was the Lakers and the Nets in 01 or the 01-02 season, and there was a 4-game sweep. I see it being very similar.
Yeah,
not that they won't put up a fight. I just think that
it'll be tough.
OKC has so much that the Knicks have to combat. They got to figure out what they're doing with Jalen Williams. They got to figure out what they're doing with Lou Dort. They got to figure out what they're doing with Chet Holmgren. And we haven't even talked about what they got to do with SGA. Do you even have anybody that can keep up with him? So
the only thing that would derail Oklahoma City is, knock on wood, I hope it doesn't happen, because I don't like seeing it. Would be something epic injury wise, for someone to go down. That would be really the only thing to hamper them. But again, if they don't win this whole thing, there's going to be a lot of weird and crazy conversations.
Oh, I'll be the first one to say this was an epic collapse. I'll be the first one to say it, because they literally have this championship gift wrapped to them. All they have to do is play their game. They've done it all season. All they have to do is do it. It's literally meant for them to take it. If they don't take it and they just don't show up, maybe the lights are too bright, which I hope not. I hope that they perform to their peak. Then that would be the storyline. Like the Thunder, all this talent for nobody to have a killer instinct to take that championship.
There have been bigger teams out there that have had collapses. So I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Yes, it's there on a silver platter for them. But why do we play? We play to win the game, and this is why we play, because nothing is given. So, man, I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait for tonight. We'll see how happy I am on Monday morning. So, but let's jump into something here. It's going to be a little bit of a touchy subject, but we definitely have to talk a little bit about it here. It looks like Zion Williamson, with all the drama that has come along with him over his 5-year career, not really playing games. Look, he's only played 214 games, and he's missed 258 games. So we already know the knock against him. He averages just 24 points a game. So he's got talent. He's just never available, unfortunately. He has made over $115 million over his 5-year career so far, and only playing 214 games, which is crazy. But right now, facing a civil complaint of sexual, physical, emotional, and financial abuse from a Jane Doe, someone who he has been seeing since 2018, which is interesting. This to me is big news. Right now, the Pelicans have to make a decision, because July 15th, the rest of his contract is guaranteed. So I think they have to make a decision pretty quickly here on what they're going to do. Innocent until proven guilty. I do believe that. But a lot of times, especially in the sports world, just the accusations of with the Diddy stuff going on right now in the news. So we already have some stuff out there that's kind of fanning the flames of these kind of accusations. How big is this news for Zion Williamson? And do you see him being on the Pelicans starting next year?
Man, this is an interesting conversation. I think what makes it tough, because I'm reading the article from ESPN.com right now, and it was filed through Los Angeles, or not filed yet. It was submitted, so it's not officially filed yet. But it's very interesting, the details of it. Of course, Zion put out a statement basically denying the allegations.
Of course.
I think what makes it interesting is it seems like Zion is usually in news stories for not positive reasons. And he's either injured, he's out of shape. Like, I remember over the offseason, he got a back tattoo, and a lot of people were making comments about how he looked like he wasn't even in shape. And then we talk about a player like Julius Randle, who was known to be kind of an out of shape player, got himself in extremely fit shape when he was traded to, ironically the Pelicans, and then eventually signed with the New York Knicks. He got himself in the best shape of his life because of dedication. And you want a player like Zion to take that thing seriously. And look at players like Shaq, who by their own natural athleticism were all-time greats. And if had they taken the game just a little bit more seriously with their training, who knows what they could have been. And I feel like Zion, again, is in the news for the wrong reasons. And Zion is kind of now being recognized as a player that's, one, not available. Two, like, is he worth the long-term investment? Which is an insane thought to think about, considering he was like a generational talent. That's what we all kept hearing, a generational talent.
Yep.
And it feels like we're still waiting for that generational talent to arrive. Like, he's a very good basketball player when he's healthy on the floor. No doubt he's electric. He's thunderous dunks. He's a defensive presence when he's on the court. And he's been on the court, from what you said. I'm not great at math, but it sounds like less than 50% of the games that he was eligible for or that he could have played in, he didn't play in because of injury and this, that, and the other. Also, this isn't the first offseason where he's had somewhat of personal drama that has made it out into the public sphere. I remember not very long ago, he had a season or an offseason where a woman who, I don't remember if he had a child with them or not, but put out their business and all that stuff. And it was just, again, attention onto Zion and the Pelicans that was unwarranted. And now we have this serious allegation. Now, it's from what I'm seeing, it's a civil matter. So it's basically going to be rectified in either monetary or in other ways. So it's not criminal. He's not going to prison, but there will be depositions. There will be court filings. There will be information on what is said and reported. And it's going to determine what kind of a human being this person is. I say right now that the Pelicans will probably keep Zion because, honestly, like, where do you go if you don't have Zion? Like, does Zion right now, with this attention, does he even have a name for himself? Probably not. Like, I don't know if you can flip him for assets or for at least as much assets as you want. Also, I do want to also play devil's advocate at the same time. This isn't the first time we've had a superstar athlete be accused of something, and obviously it was negative attention, but it all got itself worked out, and we've looked past it ever since. I will point to the late, great Kobe Bryant in 2005. He had a very serious sexual allegation against him. That was a civil matter. That was a lot of attention, and he had a fruitful career following that incident. Did it follow him around for a little bit? Sure, but he was able to have a better career, and he was a great player even up to that point. So I think Zion and the Pelicans, obviously, like, I feel like I don't see them going anywhere. This is not great for Zion in terms of the public sphere. He's already seen as a guy that doesn't take his career seriously. Again, I just mentioned the offseason story he had a couple of seasons ago where he had apparently a fling with a woman while he had another one pregnant. Again, that's his personal business. I'm just stating like what I remember hearing in the news. So again, that's attention that's being brought to him. That's not great. And then we have this. So Zion's public image is taking a huge hit. What the Pelicans think of him, I think, is another thing. But ultimately, I think the Pelicans will keep him. But I mean, the Pelicans are now signing up for 3 more years of, I think the rest of the contract's like 120 million or something that they'd be signing up for the remaining. Yeah, it's a lot of money to commit to. That's guaranteed, regardless of the situation regarding his legal status. It's guaranteed to him. So, I mean, I think the Pelicans ultimately decide to keep Zion, but man, what a blockbuster story to have released, and to start an offseason that the Pelicans were already not sure what they were going to do. And now this is another, like, where do we go from here? They just fired David Griffin, who was trying to rebuild that organization. Right. Now you got to bring in a GM if they haven't already brought one in and figure out where they go from here.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I don't think they stay with him. I think the Pelicans move on from Zion Williamson. Look, we just had the Baltimore Ravens release their Hall of Fame potential field goal kicker in Justin Tucker with some allegations that he's going through. Again, you have the Puff Daddy, Diddy, whatever you want to call Sean Combs stuff going on right now, which is a super hot button topic. So, something like this and I always question timing when it comes to these things, because of course, whether it's true or not, unfortunately, just the accusation of um, one of the things that helped Kobe Bryant is we didn't have social media like we did 20 years ago. So
Right.
back when he had his issues, um, I'm thinking maybe MySpace was around. I think Facebook was like in its total infancy. Like social
Yeah, there
media
was
as we know
like
it is
blogs and
nothing like it.
websites, right?
Yeah,
But there was not Facebook even at the
nothing.
time, because Facebook I don't think came out till like 07, 08, I think is when Facebook got
Was it
really
around
popular.
there?
So
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean we're talking barely blog sites, barely like I think ESPN.com was barely relevant during this time.
yeah. Because if that came out now,
Hmm.
then it would be such a bigger thing. But well, again, we just had Stephon Diggs,
Yeah.
with a nice video from him. So I mean, athletes right now in the news, sports people in the news, sexual allegations, and some of the things that they've talked about with the physical and emotional and choking and
Yeah.
getting knocked out, and some of the things that were reported. Again, it's just being reported. We don't have any criminal allegations. There have been no criminal charges filed against this. It smells like a money grab because, of course, they're trying to settle it for up to $50 million. They're trying to get money out of him, which is terrible because again, this is and these athletes and entertainers, there have been so many horror stories about these things, about handling your business, about taking care of yourself, about watching who and what you do at all times because one wrong move, one bad person and an allegation can literally kill your career. I mean, we again
Mhm.
just saw this with Justin Tucker with the Baltimore Ravens, who literally is probably never going to kick in the NFL again just because of the
Right.
allegation. Deshaun Watson, he's weathered the storm, but the the anger and the negative still surrounds him. Just Cleveland just can't get out of that contract
Mhm.
enough. And that's what killed them there. And they're trying to make this whole thing disappear because they handled that incorrectly. But the timing of this was just absolutely horrendous with everything going on in the news. This is a bad look for Zion Williamson. It's one thing um, if you have proven yourself different in your actions and the way you present yourself on the field, and not having any prior drama that he's already had.
Mhm.
But you got prior drama, you've had some stuff, some other social media stuff, another woman, etc. So you've already got a history now. You've already got issues with, your dedication on this. So you have all these negative things around you, and then you throw this one big negative accusation at him. Unfortunately, it's sticking to him. This is
Yeah.
not going to go away. I can see the Pelicans trying to get out of the contract and getting rid of him before that July 15th deadline because I think this is the straw. How much do you see the Lakers backed Kobe Bryant a lot when he went through his thing that they
Right.
let him go see his court dates. He still, I think it was even during the playoffs, like he
It
had to go
was.
to his court date, and
It
then he
was
still came back and played in the playoffs. So I mean,
right.
they were so supportive because I think the conditions were different. I think um, he was baited. To me, again, when you're an athlete, um, and you see a pretty face, and you got all that money and power,
Mhm.
it doesn't take much to make a bad decision. But it's just you could see how much the Lakers supported him
Right.
and allowed him to handle his business. Teams nowadays aren't doing that. They're just going to either get rid of a guy or put him somewhere where he's going to disappear. And this
Mhm.
is unfortunate. I don't think this is the end of it. I don't see this kind of just disappearing just because it is Zion Williamson and he is a hot button topic right now because of all the other news that is going on in the world right now. I don't see him being on the Pelicans next year. And I probably don't see him with a team next year until maybe this really comes out and goes away,
Mhm.
and he can show that he's a different person. So it's sad to see. It's sad to see talent just erased like that, guys. Young athletes out there, there are too many of these stories that come up. Handle your business, pay attention, be careful who you hang out with, watch what you do, be a good person, because it will come back and haunt
Mhm.
you and derail and ruin your career and cost you millions and millions of dollars, man. This is unfortunately, we see these stories, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol,
Mhm.
partying, car accidents. I mean, we see this all the time, especially in the athletic world. You have the betting stuff that's going on right now that a lot of guys are getting wrapped into and getting suspended. And there's some investigations about, betting and guys, throwing games and that kind of stuff, or shaving points. So
Yeah.
one bad decision can ruin your life. So just be mindful out there, young athletes. Uh, don't get caught, man.
Yeah.
Because it's over.
Mm.
And I know the NFL and a lot of these um, sports franchises and a lot of these leagues have kind of their rookie symposium, and they talk about these kind of things, but it doesn't hit home until it actually hits home. So
Yeah.
sad to see, man. Sad to see.
Yeah, it is a very interesting and heartbreaking thing to come out, because on one end it's like, man, Zion really hope that this is behind him, but at the same time too, like if any of this is even true, to where the person that is seeking to be you know compensated for any wrong that was done to them, such as some of the things that was said, like, also want that to happen as well. Now, I'm not saying it's criminal or anything, but it's just unfortunate to even be put in that situation. And I know there's tons of stories about athletes basically being sought after for frivolous lawsuits and people getting a quick payday. But also too, if Zion is also this type of a human being, man, I mean, he's got more things to worry about than just his NBA career. To be honest, he's lucky that this isn't taken criminal or any other serious matters, if there is any truth to it. But again, can you imagine his teammates having to answer this for him? Like, another thing of distraction. And it's unfortunate, man. I really had high hopes for Zion, and I don't know if he's going to be off of a team next year, because the one thing we know about is sports in general, especially professional sports. If you're talented and there's nothing that says you can't play, and even if there are legal matters, there's nothing preventing you from playing, teams will still sign you, and they'll take a chance on you. I mean, there's a ton of examples in the NFL. I'm sure that there's some examples you and I can even think about in the NBA, about people that have had certain law things going on against them, and they still were able to play throughout all that. And so I think, like, as long as there's nothing that is saying that he's criminally charged where he can't play, it's all just civil. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future this is all resolved, and who knows and what monetary amount it goes away, or whatever the case may be. But it's, again, like, to your credit, it's another thing that goes to your reputation, to your history of your name. And I mean, the only thing you have with you in this life sometimes is your name. All the money you can make is fine, but what you carry with you at all times is your name. And if that's always thrown around the mud, like, is your name worth anything anymore? Because all you have is all this bad stuff that follows you. So
Yeah, and it stinks, because myself, someone like yourself, we look at these athletes, and a lot of times, I don't say we're jealous, but we're like, man, I wish I had the athletic ability that so and so had, and
right.
man, that must be the life. And and a lot of these guys live it, and then over excess, and then it becomes negative. You look at a John Morant, some of the
Yeah.
things that he's done. You look at a Plexico Burris, with the gunplay, ended up shooting himself, and that ruined his career. I mean, there's just Maurice Claret, running back from Ohio State, who got into some deep stuff, man, and just completely killed his career. Michael Vick, with the dog. I mean, there's just there's nobody is safe. the climate that we're in today in the world, I want to say the cancel culture, but where we're social media 25 and a half hours a day,
Right.
you're always in the news. It doesn't take much. Everybody has a camera now. Again, the Stephon Diggs stuff that's coming out, the pink powder, whatever you want to call it, incident. Now your coaches have to answer these questions. Now your owner has to answer these questions. And ownership is these rich guys don't like to answer a lot of questions, because then people start sniffing around your business.
Oh yeah.
So you got to watch it. But let's jump into a different segment here, man. I want to get up into talking about the NBA draft. We got the NBA draft coming up here June 25th and 26th. So the new breed of players coming in here. I'm not getting into my stuff. Got to watch that. So I've been talking about the top 30 prospects. I want to talk about, I'm going to go through the top 10 prospects I have right now and just kind of put them out there. I'm kind of letting everybody know that once we get closer to the draft, I want to do some collabos and I want to do some stuff for the draft. So here from Three from Deep, we'll get in and kind of deeper dive into the draft as we get closer. But top 10 right now, prospects in the NBA draft. Let's start with number 10. You got Carter Bryant, small forward out of Arizona. You got, and I'm going to butcher a lot of names, Kopman Mantrulach. I know I'm saying that completely wrong. He's a center out of Duke. He's from South Sudan, so that's why I can't say his name. Then you also have Kasparis Jalankunis, point guard out of Illinois. He's from Lithuania. And that's one of the things I've been talking about here on the show is the NBA is global now, man. It is so worldwide. This is probably going to be one of the heaviest international drafts I think we've seen, not just because there's not a lot of college talent. It's just there's so much world talent out there. It is getting so much harder to navigate and get into the NBA, especially with that world talent there. Number 7, Jeremiah Fears, point guard out of Oklahoma. You got number 6, Con Knuppel, the small forward out of Duke. Number 5, Trey Johnson, shooting guard out of Texas. Then at number 4, you got VJ Edgecombe, shooting guard out of Baylor. He's from the Bahamas. Then number 3, Ace Bailey out of Rutgers. Number 2, Dylan Harper, shooting guard out of Rutgers. So a couple of Rutgers guys back to back there. Dylan Harper, he's going to be a beast in this league. Oof, watch out for him. And of course, number 1, the one that everybody knows, Mr. Cooper Flagg. Of course, our first pick there is the Dallas Mavericks winning the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes. I think, Cooper Flagg blew up last year during the Olympics because he was playing a lot of games against the Olympians and practice games. And man, those Olympians just were floored by this kid's talent. And then ever since then, he has been, boom, the next big thing. So my question to you, and I guess let's start there, is, okay, Dallas Mavericks, you keep the number 1 pick. You're going to pick Cooper Flagg. And I've been thinking about this. You talk about an emotional roller coaster from an organization where they literally just lost their prodigal son, was traded away to the Los Angeles Lakers. So the cloud was over Dallas. The rain was falling, the tears, the angry, the fire Nico chants, the just so much of that emotion, raw emotion. And Dallas had to deal with that all season. And of course, AD getting hurt and just terrible. And then all of a sudden, 1.8% chance a ping pong ball bounces your way. And all of a sudden, as a consolation prize for your so just dark, dismal season, here, we're going to give you the first round pick because there's no conspiracy in the NBA draft lottery, which I think should go away. But that's a whole nother. We'll talk about that in a whole other story.
Okay.
But I have a feeling that this is going to happen. do you see Cooper Flagg being able to handle being handed the mantle of, okay, we lost Luka, so now you're our guy. Here you got to be Luka Doncic now. Do you think Cooper Flagg, a young kid, first year rookie, is going to be able to handle that kind of emotion, that kind of pressure? And do you think it's fair?
Well, here's the thing about fair. It doesn't matter if it's fair or not. It is what it is. I mean, if it was unfair, then you didn't. I mean, you're the number one basketball prospect in all of college sports. Maybe some would say that's not fair. So to say is it fair for him to have these expectations? I mean, it's got to come with the gig. I don't know how else to put it more simply than that. It's a part of it. What I would say though is, the first half of your question, I don't even think Cooper Flagg needs to be the face of the Mavericks when he's drafted. To be truthful, and I think this is where a lot of people are thinking it's a conspiracy, and I'm not buying the conspiracy, but it's funny to hear everyone buy into it, where it's like, okay, when Anthony Davis comes back healthy, probably like a top 7 player when healthy, like on the floor, no injury, top 7. When Kyrie
when has he ever been healthy?
Hold on, Jason. Don't get bogged down in history now. I'm working here, okay?
I got you.
Yeah. But anyway, and then you got Kyrie Irving, former Duke. You got Kyrie Irving when he comes back from his injury. Obviously, I see Kyrie and Anthony Davis more as said leaders of the team that you've mentioned. Right. You got Klay Thompson, obviously, and then Daniel Gafford or, Derek Lively when they all come back healthy. I think Cooper Flagg is going to be drafted into a situation where, no, he doesn't have to be the face of the Dallas Mavericks. Why? Because they're not coming off of like 17 wins and now you need this guy to really just change the world of basketball. No, if anything, he's coming into a situation where if everybody is healthy and really, he can just ease into the NBA, he's not asked to be the guy every single night, where he actually might be in a situation where he's on a playoff team automatically. And he can learn from AD, who is a former champion, learn from Kyrie Irving, who knows what it's like to be a freshman coming out from Duke, going into a situation where you're looked at as the franchise guy when he got drafted to Cleveland. So You got Kyrie that can even mentor in that respect. You got Klay Thompson, obviously a former, obviously his dad also played in the NBA. Klay Thompson is a decorated NBA champion. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but Cooper Flagg, there is no better situation that's for Cooper Flagg than the Dallas Mavericks. You're not asked to save this franchise. You're potentially on a playoff team, and you're being coached by Jason Kidd, who's who's a very good head coach, regardless of what people say. He's a former champion, both on the court and off the court. And you get to learn behind some potential Hall of Fame players. And it's not like if he went to the Hornets, where he literally has to be the guy, because clearly it's not LaMelo Ball. Clearly it's not who's the other guy? Brad. Is it Brad or is it Brad? Not Miller. Is that his name?
I'm trying to think. It's because it's the Hornets, and I don't think anybody remembers any Hornets players.
Same. I want to say his name's Brad Miller, but I'm thinking of now the center from the Kings back in the day. But anyways, so you got that young nucleus where Cooper Flagg may have to come in there and be the leader of that team, but you don't have to do that now with the Mavericks. You've got a pre-baked in set of players that probably want him to be elevated, because they all know eventually they're not going to be able to play for 10 years like he's going to. But Cooper Flagg being in a situation where he can learn how to be a leader, learn how a team is going to play functionally, rather than go into a situation where they have no idea what winning is about and we need you to teach us. Like, Cooper Flagg is going to be in a situation where he's not needing to be the savior number 1 overall pick like a LeBron, like Zion was. Cooper Flagg can be a number 1 pick that just comes in and is productive. Now, will he have pressure when all that is said and gone? Yes, because now, okay, what did you learn? But I think Cooper Flagg is going to get drafted into a situation where literally he can learn, and there's no pressure of, okay, where's the 25, 7 and 7 stat line we were hoping for? He can just be a guy that fits in a system, learns how to play NBA ball, and then get better each season.
Cody, I appreciate your positive outlook on Mr. Cooper Flagg.
Oh
I
no,
really do.
Carson's not gonna like this. I can already tell.
But no, I look at this from a different perspective. Again, you,
Okay.
you looked at a franchise. This is not like it's been a year or 2 years. This is like, so far removed that Luka Doncic, again, the face of the franchise, was ripped out of your hands in the circumstances that it was.
Hmm.
This is still fresh. This is still new. Now you're vaulted into, okay, we got the first pick. I'm so excited. Oh man, we got Cooper Flagg. We got the golden child, the one that was at the Olympics, and these guys love him. So that's the angle I'm coming from is I really do think that city, and I'm talking about maybe the whole NBA or maybe the nation as a whole. I'm just saying in that city itself and
Hmm.
that fan base is going to want to take Luca's face off of the billboards and like just how they cut it out and
Yeah.
then just superimpose Cooper Flagg's face in there. And I'm just afraid they're gonna want to do that because it's like, okay, I want to move on from the hate and the hurt from Luca. Oh, we got our number one pick. We got the best guy in the draft. We got this hottest kid out there right now. We're
Hmm.
gonna use this as the okay. This is now we're gonna just slap his face on these billboards. We're gonna put him on. He's gonna be on the season tickets and everything now. So we're gonna have
Hmm.
to sell him because again, you have AD, but an older AD.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's not as available. So how much do you sell AD? Kyrie Irving coming off that injury, he's getting a little older. And is Kyrie even going to be there? I believe he is. It's either a restricted or unrestricted. I have to look. I think he is a unrestricted free agent.
I think
So
you're right.
is Kyrie even going to be there in Dallas? Or do you see Kyrie maybe going to LA to play with Luka Doncic, the Los Angeles Lakers, and match up with LeBron James for
Oh man.
one last dance in LA? So I mean, there's a lot of questions, and I think especially with all the negative stuff that's flying around Nico Collins and that
Hmm.
organization to do and make moves and to make the team better. I don't know if some of that negative stuff is bubbling on the inside of the organization where guys are like, dude, if you treated Luca like that, what the hell are you going to do with me? I'm Kyrie Irving. I'm leaving. Clay
Hmm.
Thompson, I'm going to them and hey, I want to get traded. You need to get me out of here. I don't want to be here because you guys are going to trade me away when you
Hmm.
don't want me anyway. So I'm afraid there's going to be some negative stuff that's going to happen and that Cooper Flagg ultimately is going to be the man. We got to sell him. He's going to be our guy. He's the new chosen one. He's the
Uh-huh.
next Luca. So that's where I'm looking at it. So it'd be interesting to see that. And my other question for you, again, with some big names floating around out there as far as trade,
Hmm.
aka Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Uh-huh.
Um, you have the first pick in the draft, so you have some draft capital. Do you see a situation where you take your number one pick, a Cooper Flagg, and
Hmm.
go out there and get some major pieces to add to your team? A Giannis Antetokounmpo, a bigger name guy that could be out there. Maybe you look at the Timberwolves or the
Hmm.
Memphis Grizzlies. Do they stay and hang with Ja, after everything that went down and a lot of things that have been going on out there? So, like,
Hmm.
do you use him to get more or do you stick with Cooper Flagg?
Well, listen, from what you just described, if Cooper Flagg is having to be the replacement to Luca, you're basically now asking, should Cooper Flagg be traded for Giannis? Which, don't get me wrong, Giannis, all NBA player every single year, like no doubt. There's no better player than Giannis. I mean, if he improves just his jumper and his 3-point shooting, like he could run the league at his age of, I think he's now 30.
Yeah.
So him at 30 now, we're saying that the Mavericks, who potentially can get a 20-year-old, would now flip the 20-year-old for a 30-year-old. So now their team didn't get younger, they got older. And we hope that they can put it together for a championship. But yet the question, and again, which you posed, is who's now going to be the new replacement to Luka, who was a young 25-year-old when he was traded. I don't think that you flip Cooper Flagg for Giannis, because again, you'd be doing the same thing that you did for getting Luka for AD. You're getting something that's right now that you hope hits to get a championship, but we just discovered that when Anthony Davis was traded, injured immediately. So that went out the window, right? Kyrie Irving, some say that the injury was caused because he was playing extra minutes. He doesn't believe so. It is what it is. He still got injured during the same period. Now, the number 1 overall pick fell into their lap, fair or unfair. So where Nico Collins can now draft somebody that gives hope to the franchise. And then we're going to now give it over to Milwaukee to get Giannis and hope that he remains healthy and has a few good seasons left in him to win a championship. Right. Whereas Cooper Flagg at 20 years old, if you take care of him like they should have with Luka, could possibly be on this Dallas team for 10 to 15 years. I don't think Nico makes the same mistake twice. As dumb as I thought his trade was to the Lakers for literally a pack of Marlboro Reds and, you know, a bag of chips for Luka, I do not know if he flips Cooper Flagg straight up for Giannis. And because now you're absorbing almost a $15 million a year contract where Cooper Flagg is going to be making pennies to the dollar in comparison. Right. So even salary cap wise, I don't know how that's going to work, because now you might have to include AD in that deal just to make the numbers work. So that's why I don't know if it's going to happen. But if Nico Harrison trades the number 1 overall pick after getting it to save his job, that man deserves to then lose his job. There's no way you trade your franchise.
Well, again, if you get Giannis Antetokounmpo, I look at it this way.
Okay, then
do you want to win? Do you want to win now?
Sure. Okay.
Or do you want to win?
Let's run
10
with
years
this
from now.
Sure. Let's run with that idea then. Okay. If they added Cooper Flagg, what's the floor? What's at least the floor for the Mavericks, you think, if they're healthy? And we'll assume for the sake of the argument, Kyrie stays, right? What's the floor for the Mavs with Cooper there? What do you think?
I think they're a 7th or 8th, maybe a 9th place team. They're in the West.
Okay.
You got to figure if the number 2 pick is the San Antonio Spurs right now, who are going to get Victor Wembanyama back, De'Aaron Fox back. They just had the Rookie of the Year in Castle. Mm-hmm. So you talk about a team that's going to come up right off the bat, and they're going to get the 2nd pick in the draft, unless they take that and flip it to maybe get a Kevin Durant, maybe get a Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's like, okay, so if you're the Mavericks, you know, in the West, do you go out and do a trade like that to not only play to win now,
sure,
but you're also keeping someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo away from another team that you're eventually going to have to play?
Well, hold on. Now I'm going to continue this thought experiment. So so your baseline or your floor for Cooper Flagg being drafted for the Mavs, if they're healthy and Kyrie comes back, you still have AD. We're not losing anybody. We're just adding Cooper Flagg and everyone's healthy. You're saying that they're between a 7 and a 9 seed, correct?
Yeah, I'd give it that in the West, yes.
Okay. Now we can agree that if the Mavericks add Giannis, they can't keep everybody, right? Because the contracts don't work.
No,
right?
you have to make the money work, yes.
Okay, so that means that who are your big contracts that are on the books right now? You got AD that's on the books. And let's just assume that Kyrie can't be re-signed now because you got no money for him. So now you don't have him. So now what you're flipping is the future of whatever franchise, Cooper Flagg, potentially Anthony Davis to make the agreement work or the contracts, maybe a couple of other role players, but you're depleting your roster basically to bring in Giannis. So now you have maybe Giannis and AD, and now you got to build around that with no future assets. Remember, they don't have a first round pick until this is their only first round pick until 2030.
Right.
So, and what's your floor for that team? Again, we don't even know what they'll be able to add because of their salary restrictions, assuming they can keep AD and acquire Giannis, but now they had to let go half the roster to even make it work.
I think
What's
they can make it work. I think they would still be the same 7-8 because look, a Giannis Antetokounmpo dragged a subpar
okay?
Bucks team to the Eastern Conference playoffs. I think they can do the same in the West. But
Okay,
I think if they can make something work, you put AD, you put Giannis, you get Kyrie, or maybe you have to get rid of one of them, but you still have Clay and then Giannis. And I mean, I think that's a better supporting cast
sure,
than what he had in Milwaukee. And if he has a better supporting cast in Milwaukee, you're getting a guy that averages 30 plus points a game. Cooper
right,
Flagg last year only averaged 19 points a game. So I mean,
sure,
I don't know. I see his ceiling, but what is his ceiling going to be? It's not going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't see Cooper Flagg turning into a top 5 NBA player in the next 5 years. I don't see Cooper Flagg
I
turning
don't,
into Luka Doncic in the next
sure,
5 years. I think
sure,
he is going to be a decent player. I
sure,
think he's going to get you 19, 20 points a game. But
hmm
if you can flip him now where his value is the most, as opposed to waiting 5 years and then he turns into and I would say a bust, but maybe he starts getting hurt. Maybe he doesn't live up to expectations. Now he's not worth anything to trade. So why
sure,
wouldn't you try to get something bigger for him now where
right,
he's got the most value as opposed to 5 years down the road when you get even less that you got for Luka for him and they turn around and trade him because that seems to be Dallas's MO right now. They traded Luka, they traded
hmm
Jalen Brunson. That seems to be what Dallas does.
sure,
After Dirk Nowitzki,
hmm
there has been no other Dallas lifer. They just seem to regurgitate, and that's what they want to do because they're trying to win something now. So
right,
you might as well use his value of what it is now
hmm
and get something bigger as opposed to 5 years from now when who knows what he can be. So what do you think? What do you see Cooper Flagg in the next 5 years? What do you think ultimately his ceiling could be?
So I do want to touch base on this because I think it's going to tie into my ultimate point about why I don't think trading Cooper Flagg and the number 1 pick to get Giannis, because I think it's going to take more. You're going to have to get rid of a lot more to get Giannis just because the contracts and all that other stuff. Like you're going to deplete your team to where Giannis is right back in the same situation, but now he's going to have to do it in the Western Conference that's more competitive, in my opinion. But anyways, Cooper Flagg, to me, I think he's 6'9", and he probably hasn't stopped growing because I think he's like 19 or 20. So you have a chance for a growth spurt. And he's played pretty well. Like for a freshman in college, 19 points a game. Say what you want about it. It's pretty good. It's not bad for a freshman. It's respectable. Now, give him some time to grow in the NBA. And maybe we're looking at a guy that might be like on the fringe of being a double-double type of guy. Like, are we talking 18 to 20 points? Maybe like 7 to 9 rebounds? Yeah, I can see that with how the NBA is played. Yeah,
Right.
I think he'll have a home. I can't really necessarily put an identity of a player onto him quite yet because I need to see what he looks like on the NBA floor. But I think in the way that NBA is played, where 3-point shooting is valuable, your free throws are valuable, you don't
Right.
necessarily need to have a great mid-range game anymore. But as long as you have a very good repertoire in terms of like your handle, as long as you can create separation, you can make it in the league. And Cooper Flagg can do all those things. You give it a little NBA speed, put some coaching behind it. Do I think he'll be like an all NBA? I don't know. Who knows? Like all of these NBA draftees, we could agree they're a 50-50 shot. They're either going to work or they're not. Do I think Cooper Flagg has a prosperity type of career where like he's going to be a productive NBA player? I do. I don't know if it leads to Hall of Fame. I don't know if we're talking all-star, but I would trust though that if he's considered a number 1 pick and also the number 1 player coming out of his high school class as well, I have a feeling then with every level that he's progressed to and also getting used to the international game when he was on the Olympic team and getting to practice with players like LeBron, with KD, with Steph, like that's knowledge and experience that you're not going to get anywhere else unless you're in that type of environment or you're good enough to be in that environment. So
Right.
I think Cooper Flagg could be productive, and maybe we're underselling it. Maybe in a season or two, Cooper Flagg is going to be one of the names of the NBA that we're like, man, that guy is a must-see kind of a player. We really don't know. We're both doing this. We don't know. But my argument for why I think the Mavericks shouldn't unload half their team to get Giannis and flip Cooper Flagg is because they're going to be in such financial strains that half that team, even if they have Giannis, AD.
Yeah, but you can restructure contracts. I mean, if you sell Kyrie on it, you can restructure his contract. You can restructure AD. You can make the numbers. You can make the numbers
But listen,
work.
Sure, you can make the numbers work. But if you're telling me that I have a 3-year window with Giannis compared to a 5 to 10-year window with Cooper Flagg, and I'm going to be at the same seating anyways, I'd rather take the 5 to 10-year window over the 3-year window. And no offense to Giannis, I'm not trying to say that Giannis isn't worth anything. Again, I actually want him on the Lakers. I want the Lakers to give up whatever asset.
No. Now you're talking crazy.
I am. But you would also want the Knicks to trade almost anything for, So if we're gonna call a spade, you would say, "Oh, Cat, get on the plane."
No, I would say Mikal Bridges, and maybe
anybody
Precious
not named
and OG.
Anybody not named Jalen Brunson, get on the plane. Giannis is on his way. Hurry up, and then you can build around Giannis and Jalen. You would like that, right? That.
I would.
Okay.
I like that better. I like that better than the KD. I know you guys talked about KD going in the Knicks, and I'm not sold on KD.
I know.
In the Knicks. I'm not a big KD.
When they make that trade
for hire.
When they make that trade, you'll like it. But anyways, my point being though is, like, as much as I love Giannis is going to be a mountain mover for whatever team he gets on. I'm just talking about a team's future. I don't know if they go down, they shrink their window to 3 years when they have an opportunity to keep it open for 5 years, and they're going to still end up in the same place after the first year together. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
If you're telling me I have to dismantle this team to get Giannis and I only have a 3-year window, or I can just draft this player, have him learn under all these other players, and I'm still at the same spot and I save money, I think that they're going to go that route just because logically that makes sense. And I know I just said the word logically, which Nico Harrison doesn't have, but forgive me. I'm trying. That's what I would do if I was an NBA GM, but they didn't hire me. They hired Nico. So, take that information for what you will.
That's the X factor right there is what would Nico do? And that's why, and again, this is all in fun. And I like to poke the bear a little bit here when I come up with some of these questions. Cause
Carson is well aware. Carson is fumed sometimes on the group chat.
I love it.
Although in our defense, though, he also did say that Kobe Bryant's not top 10. And I thought that was blasphemy.
No, that is blasphemy. Oh my God. I see it's going to make me knock over my mic. Kobe Bryant is top 10. Like I said, there's Jordan, and then 2 through 10, you can just start rotating guys. Cause that's what I love about the NBA. There's so many great players. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, everybody is drunk on the now. The modern guys, whoever's playing now, the last 5-10 years, that's all I can see. I can't see anything back. You guys got to look back, man. You look back at an Oscar Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
You look back at a Bill Russell. You look back at some of these other guys. The NBA has had some phenomenal players. Don't just be a slave to the now. Do your research, do your homework. Look at some of the players when you talk about ghosts of this game and the guys that built the foundation that it's on right now, because the players today would not have anything close to what they have now if it wasn't for those that came before them. So guys, go out there and do your research. But it's a lot of fun to talk about these things, and I'm sure a lot more drama, and I think we're probably going to get some reporting, and Shams is going to come out and go, oh wait a minute, Nico's talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden everybody's head's going to explode. And you're going to see the Lakers jumping in because I know they want to do some trading. Again, Kevin Durant is out there. Giannis. So I think it's just going to get to a fever pitch with all the rumors and everything else that's going to go on the closer we get to the draft. So that's why I'm also excited about getting closer to the draft. I'm gonna hate when basketball is over and we get through the finals, but I'm excited to see the draft. I'm excited for the offseason because there's always going to be something going on. There's always going to be some kind of drama going on in the NBA, and we'll be here. We'll be here to kind of talk about it. So, man, I appreciate it, Cody. A lot of fun, a lot of great stuff to talk about, and I'm sure I will have you on again because, again, we love our Drew
sir.
So I thank you very much. Tell the people where they can find you, and tell the people where they can get the merch, man.
Yeah, so I
jealous.
appreciate your repping it. So Drew Code Sports Talks on YouTube. You can put in the search bar right now. We're also available on audio, so Spotify, Apple. Find us on social media. So if you go to like Instagram, you can click the link in our bio, leads you right to the merch shop where you can get a shirt like what Jason has. There's also other variations. And again, I have to actually give a lot of credit to our Boom family. They actually really showed support to me and it really touched my heart. So I can't wait to see what the other ones look like. Like that one looks stellar. I'm glad it came out really well. And I can't wait to see the other ones. But you can find us at Drew Code Sports Talk on all the socials and also on YouTube. If everyone goes and show loves, appreciate it. And you guys will definitely see Jason on Drew Code very, very shortly. And if you go our last episode, you see Jason and Andrew kind of get into it a little bit. Jason was on his keyboard kind of going at Drew, and it was a lot of fun. So I can't wait to have you on. And that way the three of us can all have a good party.
I appreciate that. I like to poke the bear. Look, life is short. You got to have fun with it. And my thinking sometimes goes out in left field, and I like coming up with these kind of crazy idea because you know what? Look, Luka getting traded.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy of an idea was that before it actually happened? And all of a sudden it happened. Boom. So crazy stuff happens in NBA, in sports. So that's why we're here to talk about it, because if crazy stuff didn't happen, we would just be sitting around, twiddling our thumbs. So I appreciate all the crazy stuff here. Guys, it's a great episode. I appreciate y'all joining me. I'm just going to leave Cody on there right now. We're going to hang out to the very, very end. But thank you very much for joining me here. Again, this is 3 from Deep. I am Jason Colenso. That's Mr. Cody Johnson from Drew Code Sports Talk. It's great stuff. Enjoy your weekend. Man, Game 6. Here we go. Let's go, Knicks. Knicks in 7. I hope it comes to fruition. Thank you guys very much for joining me, and I will see you on Monday. Peace.